Good morning. I'd like to call the Committee on Rules to order. Please call the roll.
You have a quorum, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. First on our agenda, we have a resolution that we need to, the patron has asked that it be stricken from the docket. That's SJ 21. It's been moved and seconded that SJ 21 be stricken from the docket. All in favor, please vote. Oh, a voice vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, that is stricken from the docket. The way we're going to operate this morning, we're going to take up some pieces of legislation in block. And if there are members of the committee who wish to pull an item from the block, you can do so as they are announced. The first,
Chairman,
yes.
I'm sorry, but I have a resolution to be stricken also.
Okay.
SJ 74.
SJ 74, by request of the patron, she's asked that that be stricken from the docket. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed?
Thank you.
Okay, that is stricken. Okay, the first block will be continuing resolutions that you can find on page 2. And those are Senate Bill 130, Senator Norman's Electric Utility Regulation Commission extends the sunset provision. SB 957, Senator Marston's Commission on Civic Education, Sunset and Funding. And SJ 27, Senator Lewis's Coastal Flooding Joint Subcommittee on Continued Appropriations.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that all those bills and resolutions in the block be reported. This is a recorded vote. All in favor, please vote.
Ayes 12, no 0.
Ayes are 12, noes are 0. That block is reported. The second block will be acts of the assembly that you can find on page 6. And this is asking for repeals of certain acts of the Assembly. Senate Bill 636 is Senator Servel's Racial Inequity repeals numerous obsolete and discriminatory acts. Senator McClellan's Senate Bill 722 repeals institutional racial segregation and discrimination. Senate Bill 850 is my repeal of Central State Colony, et cetera, repeals various chapters relating to the establishment of Central State Colony. And I think that's all in that block. It's been moved and seconded that that block of bills be reported. Is there any discussion? All those in favor, please vote.
Ayes 12, no 0.
Ayes are 12, noes are 0. That block is reported. The third block will be designations, recognitions, and commendations. And in this block, page 7. I will be removing from this block's SJ 79, Senator Sutherland's resolution, but remaining in this block are Senate Joint Resolutions 68, Puppy Mill Awareness Month, Senate Joint Resolution 70, that's been pulled. Senate Joint Resolution 80, Senator Pillion's National Prosthodontics Awareness Week, Senate Joint Resolution 86, Ovarian Cancer Awareness Month, and Senate Resolution 7, Senator Lucas's James Solomon Russell Day. Those are in a block to be reported.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Those are reported. Okay, so those are all the items in a block. So we will now go to Senate Joint Resolution 9, which was remaining from last week, Senator Marston. The discussion was over whether or not that would go to JLARC or to the Crime Commission. And let me go.
Madam Chair?
Senator Marston.
We spoke with the folks at the Crime Commission, and certainly referring it there, it would just sort of get into their queue as to what they had the bandwidth to do or not do. But I think that's probably a great place for it. Clearly, we before we start instituting parole, we need to take a look at different categories of recidivism, best reentry practices, things that they're doing in other parts of the state. We can't just stick a percentage of time back in it, and that led us to the problem the last time where people felt that there was no truth in sentencing. And I think we need to do this much more carefully. And I would, if the Crime Commission is here to verify what we talked about.
And I believe there are some amendments.
But I
Thank you,
think that's
Madam.
probably a more appropriate place for it.
Thank you, Madam Chair. There are a series of 7 amendments that, taken together, have the effect of changing the study from JLOC to the Crime Commission. The first one is on line 4, after directing the strike joint audit and review and insert state crime. The second one is at line 28, after that the strike the remainder of line 28 through review and line 29 and insert state crime. The third amendment is on line 30, after study the strike joint legislative audit and review and insert state crime. The fourth amendment is on line 44, after to the strike joint legislative audit and review and insert state crime. The fifth amendment is on line 45, after to the strike the remainder of line 45 through review on line 46 and insert state crime. The sixth amendment is on line 47, after the strike joint legislative audit and review and insert state crime. And the final amendment, which is the seventh amendment, is on line 50, after whether the strike the remainder of line 50 through review on line 51 and insert state crime.
Need a motion on those amendments? Moved and seconded that we adopt those amendments. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed? And so now we can have a motion on that resolution. Senator Norman.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I'm sure that's due to my inattentiveness, but I think a bill is working its way through the process that would abolish the abolishment of parole. And excuse me. And how are we reconciling that with the fact that we're moving that bill through, but now we want to study it?
Mr. Chair, Madam Chair, I apologize.
Senator Deeds.
We killed the Senate version of the bill. There may be a bill in the House that does that, but I think the position this body takes, can be different than the one the other body takes. We might have to work out some differences down the line, but as for me, I think it makes more sense if we're going to look at this topic to study it rather than just outright do it.
Madam Chair.
I'm sorry.
Senator Norman.
I understand that, and I appreciate Senator Deeds saying that, but sometimes I like to hear that reassurance publicly.
Have you been reassured?
I am reassured.
Thank you. Motion on the resolution. It's been moved and seconded that SJ 9 be reported. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those
Is there
opposed?
a House version of that bill?
Okay. We will now move to our sign-up sheet. Senator DeSteph.
Chair, members of the committee,
Page 2.
we have Senate Bill 41,
And I believe Senator Spruill has one that's very similar to
very
yours.
similar, Senate Bill 47.
Yes.
And what Senate Bill 41 does is it takes the Council on the Interstate Compact for Education Opportunity for Military Children's Membership. And because a lot of the military members deploy, it says we'll use the spouse of one of the military members who serves on the Department of Education's Military Student Support Process Action Team. Military support, or Department of Education's Military Support Process Action Team, they're the ones who look out for the military children to make sure all their needs are being met, whether they're special needs, whether it's a student who has been raised oversees the whole time. They work with Department of Education to make sure all their needs are being met appropriately. So we're saying we'd like to have that person be the appointee to this, because they're truly the ones who focus on what's best for the military children's education.
That ain't what we, don't say we.
His-
That's what he said.
Well, when I say "we" on this, Senator Spruill's, all the difference.
Explain
All
myself.
right,
Chill out, let me do my own thing.
let you explain yours.
Explain yours, Senator Sproul.
Madam Chair, talk with Congressional Lauren. Her concern was it would be a parent. And we talked earlier at your desk. I was saying, what's the difference between a parent and a spouse? And I said, it could be a single parent that doesn't have a spouse. So he suggested to me by adding parent/spouse. That would take care of that problem, and which I agree to that. But the other thing that he was talking about, that was not shared with me, so I don't know what that means. He may know, but I'm not buying it. So my thing is, as long as you say parent/spouse, then that would take care of my bill. But the question was, his second point was, how a parent who does not come under the criteria of his second thing, what he's trying to do, then that will rule out a parent unless they go through these criteria. That's the problem I'm having.
Madam Chair, if I may, the second portion here, we're taking the person who's appointed as the Department of Education's Military Student Support Process Action Team advocate. So this individual is the subject matter expert who usually has an educational background and focuses on the military child's unique things that they need. And it covers all students, and they want to make sure that they have this, so the person that's sitting there, they have to have a student, but they focus on the unique things of all military students. And that's why we put that individual in there. And they're already familiar with Department of Education guidelines. They're already familiar with the IEPs of the students. They're ones who've been trained up on that.
I think we get it. So SB 41 is requesting that a parent of a military child be added to the council. SB 47 is requesting that a military spouse be added to the council.
Converted, actually. 41 is the spouse with the credentials of the PAT.
I get it. So, Amigo, is there any way that we can marry the two?
Madam Chair, you certainly can if it would be adding two additional members, because one of the members has a different credential than the other member. So, but it would be adding two additional members rather than just the one.
So are you amenable to these two be enrolled together?
Absolutely.
Okay. So we will, and you will both be co-patrons on the bill? Okay. Can we do that? Thank you.
I think I just heard him bark.
Okay, so we will, does it matter to you which is rolled where?
Because they were good to me yesterday, and my Republican friends, Senator Norman, talk about you, Senator Norman, I'm talking about you. Because my friends were good to me yesterday and bailed me out from the Democrats who tried to dish me, I would prefer to hit them to be the best.
Okay, we will roll 47 to 41. Is there a motion on
The
that?
other side of that is that, Madam Chair, the staff is the one that has to go to the House.
There you go.
Okay.
Thank you.
Perfectly fine. We actually have a House companion that's come through the House as well, so it'll be pretty
Okay.
easy.
Okay, so we need a motion to roll Senate Bill 47 into Senate Bill 41. Okay. Moved and seconded that Senate Bill 47 be rolled into Senate Bill 41, and both Senator Sproul and Senator DeStaff would be chief co-patrons on the bill. So please vote on that motion.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee.
Hold up, you haven't passed
Ayes
it yet?
14, no 0.
Ayes of 14, noes of 0. Now we need a motion on the bills. It's been moved and seconded that Senate Bill 41 be reported. Please vote.
very much.
Ayes 14, noes 0.
Thank you very much.
Ayes 14, noes 0. That's reported. Senator Eben.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. SB 848 is a small but important bill. The General Assembly, when we passed the
That's on
Metro
page 5.
funding bill, required that the Northern Virginia Transportation Commission give an annual report to the General Assembly and the governor, and it requires that it be there that we report on November 1st. I happen to be a member of MVTC as well. And unfortunately, a lot of the data from the Federal Transit Administration is not available on November 1st. So what we've been doing is giving the Commonwealth 2 reports. We give one on time with the data from the previous year, noting that it'll be available later, and then we go to the trouble of doing a second report and printing it, submitting it later. So this bill would just make one report. Instead of November 1st, it would be on December 15th. And it just changes 2 words in the code, the month and the date. That just changes the date in the code.
Any questions? Moved and seconded that Senate Bill 848 be reported. All in favor, please vote.
Ayes 12, noes 0.
You didn't vote.
Thank you.
Abstention 1, sorry.
Thank you, members of the committee.
Thank you.
Record me, yes.
Senator Servo.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I think you passed my other bill already, so this is the only other one I have. But this one is pretty simple. It basically says that any legislation that purports to create any kind of immunity from physical injuries or deaths is required to carry a $50,000 Medicaid impact statement. And the reason for that is that, Medicaid is basically ends up covering a lot of things because we don't require private parties or insurance to carry it. I think that's one of the reasons that Medicaid has been exploding in its cost over time. We already have immunities on the books, for example, for like medical malpractice and other things. And basically what that does is shifts the cost from the people that cause the harm to taxpayers. And every year we see this proliferation of immunity bills. I remember back in 2010, the Burke Homeowners Association on my way had to pay an $18 million verdict. And the next year they were in here asking for immunity from stormwater liability, which they got. And all that does is just shifts the liability. And I just think we need to be more aware of who ends up paying for things when we do immunity. And I think this bill, I think, would just sort of raise awareness for that within the body.
Any questions? Senator Favola.
Thank you. If you're creating immunity from civil liability, so is it only going to be a criminal offense? Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm saying any member who puts in a bill that puts immunity from injury in their bill, it's going to get tagged like a Woodrum amendment with a $50,000 Medicaid impact statement. So it'll have to go to the Finance Committee to be vetted by finance staff to see if we're pushing too much expense over to taxpayers and Medicaid. And finance staff looked at this and they agreed that there might be an impact on Medicaid after I ran it through them before I put the bill in. And they thought this might be part of the problem why Medicaid expenses keep growing so much. So
Because of the IC.
Chairman.
All right, thank you.
Senator McDougall.
So, Serval, are you trying to say if we put in a immunity from liability from a nurse or a doctor that is performing volunteer work to help indigent individuals, that before that bill would pass, we would have to have at minimum 50,000 impact to the Medicaid budget, knowing that if they don't perform that work and no health care is provided, that impact to DMAS would actually be higher. Is that what we're trying to do? Because that's what
right,
this
we do that
does.
right now with criminal cases, even if we don't know what the impact is on sentencing. And I just, you guys know better than me because you've been on the Finance Committee. What's happened to our Medicaid budget is growing like crazy, and I think this is part of it.
Madam Chairman,
Senator McDougall.
but the difference between a Woodrum impact is the Woodrum impact is picking up something that's, in essence, a little more objective, and that is the cost of somebody being incarcerated for at least 1 year. This, we're saying, if somebody, the example I just gave, is providing free healthcare work for somebody that can't afford it, then we're going to say that could have a negative impact on the budget but there's no way to pick up the positive impact that that could have if that person gets good health care and recovers healthily, then you're not accounting for where that would be. So I actually think that this would do the reverse, would encourage people not to perform that.
Well, I mean, I think that's one good example, but Madam Chairman, if I could address his comments. Sorry, I mean, that's one example, but just to give another example, I put in a death penalty bill this year, and it had a $72,000 negative impact when we could close the Capital Defender Service, which costs us $5 million a year, but that didn't seem to get picked up in the FIS either. So, I mean, I think that's something the finance staff could weigh in making recommendations to the Finance Committee about how to handle the bill. I just think there's a lot of other bills I see where people come in because they say, I'm having problems getting insurance. I would like the legislature to give me immunity. And all they're doing is pushing the cost off the taxpayers, and it doesn't get vetted by our finance staff, which it should, because we're just pushing the cost to taxpayers.
Senator Norman.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. The peanut gallery, the bipartisan peanut gallery down here wants to give you an A for your creativity. But having said that, I think it's a terrible idea.
Right.
And I continue to marvel at the breadth of your knowledge in every discipline that we have in the General Assembly. But the reason I think it is a bad idea, Madam Chairman, is that the Woodrum Amendment up to this point, which has been the standard, has been restricted basically to criminally related matters. We start going outside of that, and I promise you, we're going to see a proliferation of other bills coming in to require a mandatory $50,000, and that is not a good policy.
Madam Chair, could I respond to that?
Sure.
At least from my take on this session, I think this would only have applied to maybe 2 bills. I think, Linwood has one, and maybe another one, but I've seen other sessions where there's been more than that. And I know Marston had a bill about Fairfax County Park Authority a couple of years ago that it would have applied to. And there's a lot of people that are in parks every day that could get injured, and if they do, they're now immune. So, taxpayers are paying if they don't have insurance. So, I mean, sooner or later, I think we have to start thinking about all this immunity we hand out like chiclets in this place. And I think this is one way to raise awareness and deal with it.
Mr. Chairman, Madam Chairman.
Senator Edwards.
Okay, you appropriate $50,000. What do you do with that money?
It goes to Medicaid, but I mean, the point is it gets a vetting by finance staff to see if it's something we want to shift to taxpayers. That's the point.
So Madam
Senator
Chair,
Edwards.
so it goes to Medicaid. Okay, just extra money for Medicaid.
Right. But the real point is it gets vetted by staff to consider the possible fiscal impact.
Madam Chair,
Senator Deeds.
I move we pass the bill by indefinitely.
It's been moved and seconded that Senate Bill 655 be passed by indefinitely. All those in favor, please vote.
Thank you.
Ayes 14, no 0.
Ayes 14, no 0. The bill passed by indefinitely.
It's a great idea, but it's just too much.
Senator Donovan.
Thank you, Madam Chairman and members of the committee. I have Senate Bill 586.
Page 4.
This is really a cleanup bill from the Auditor of Public Accounts, and it relates a little bit to a bill I carried and passed a couple of years ago that ensured that bonuses given to state employees would be listed on the website for increased transparency as their wages and other benefits are. But as you look through lines 79 through about 109, this is mostly changing language so that it's easier for them to create the reports that they have to create. And I do believe I have somebody here to speak to that if you would like to hear from them. If you're happy with the bill as it is, no need.
Any questions?
I have a question. What's the
Senator.
point of doing this? I know greater transparency, I heard that, but
It's already done. I think the issue is, as you look at the lines, they're just changing some of the language. Instead of itemizing on line 78 and 79, they basically just changed the language to say all sources. I think it's to just make it easier for them to report and have language that's consistent with their procedures and policies. It's literally just a language cleanup. It doesn't change any of the functions.
Is there any opposition? Okay, motion on Senate Bill 586. Senator,
There's an opponent there.
Opposition? She's not here to oppose.
No, he thought you were an opponent. No.
It's been moved and seconded that Senate Bill 586 be reported. All those in favor, please vote.
Thank you, Madam Chairman and members of the committee.
Ayes 14, no zero.
Ayes 14, no zero. That bill is reported. Senator Reeves.
Morning, Madam Chairman.
Good morning.
I have before the body Senate Joint Resolution 87. Madam Chair, I would just tell you
That's a sign.
that is a sign. Cut my mic off, right? Madam Chair, I would tell you that when I spoke with the senior senator from Fairfax, he asked me point blank, did I bring this bill because of an incident directly related to that incident? If this bill was brought by in a political nature, and Madam Chair, I'm telling you, it wasn't. I brought this bill because I had no idea we had immunity as legislators. And one of the things that I learned as a young man and as a leader is if you see a deficiency and you fail to correct it, you set a new standard for everyone. And that means picking up trash when you see it, because we have a duty as elected leaders, and I know you agree with me, Madam Chair, that we are judged at a higher level. Whether or not we want to take that on, believe it, people view us differently. And because of that, I think we need to hold ourselves to a little bit higher standard. And the current law that's under the books in the Constitution allows us some immunity, and probably rightfully so when the bill was put forward. And there was some shenanigans that were happening at that time that the bill was put forward. So the amendment that I have before the body to take into consideration is to take away some of that immunity, but still allow some immunity from persecution and warrants being issued by a civilian against us. So it would still put the ability for us to be prosecuted by a law enforcement officer, a magistrate, a judge, a court, or a Commonwealth attorney, but not in law enforcement. We call them he said, she said. So you couldn't, one legislator couldn't necessarily get somebody to go testify and swear out a citizen's warrant against us to hinder us. So that's the bill in its entirety. I would hope that this committee would look favorably upon it, and I ask that it be passed.
Mr. Chairman, Madam Chairman.
Hold up. Senator Saslaw.
Do you know why this is in the Constitution?
Madam Chair, Senator Saslaw, I've been told why it is, why they had it originally, that there were sheriffs that were stopping legislators and keeping them from voting and kind of doing some of that stuff, but I would love to hear.
Senator Locke.
Senator Saslaw.
Senator Reeves, one of Senator Locke's predecessors, Hunter Andrews, told me the reason this is in the state was put in the state constitution was that it was a common practice apparently of governors to have legislators arrested when they weren't voting right. And this put a halt to it immediately, and we should not be repealing it.
Yeah, Madam Chair.
Senator Edwards.
Yeah, it kind of goes back to common law England, where the king would arrest members of House of Commons so they couldn't vote. That's why it was done, and it's a carryover from that. And we actually had tinkered with it about 20 years ago or so, and I don't think it needs tinkering with anymore.
Madam Chair, can I ask a question of either the two senators that were here 20 years ago?
Senator Reeves.
Have we had an incident where the governor has tried to arrest a member of the General Assembly?
They can't now.
Can't.
Other questions?
Madam Chair,
Senator Peterson.
just practically, can we even take up constitutional amendments this session? Because we're in the
No.
first year of a two-year cycle, so wouldn't we do this next year anyway? I have an opinion on this bill, but I don't even think it's relevant because we'd have to take this up next year.
Madam Chairman, I
That would
move
be
we
correct.
PBI it.
It's been moved and seconded that Senate Joint Resolution 87 be passed by indefinitely. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
I should have recorded.
Thank you, Senator Reeves.
Thank you, ma'am.
Senator Hanger.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the committee. First one I'd like to take up is Senate Bill 599, and I'm going to ask you to strike this bill. The reason being, prior to session, I still had concerns about the transition of some of the functions of currently in Department of Social Services being transferred to the Office of Education and Child Care. And since then, it's been worked on. Senator Howe has already advanced a bill to accomplish that, and I've been provided with some of the detail that's being done now. My resolution would have required Department of Social Services and the Office of Education to work through more of the detail of the transition. They're in the process of doing that. In fact, just this morning I was provided a copy of some of the summary of what they're currently doing, so I would ask the committee to strike the bill since it's no longer needed.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that Senate Bill 599 be stricken. All those in favor, please vote.
Ayes 14, no 0.
Ayes 14, no 0. That bill is stricken.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Senate Bill 587 deals with the MEI Commission. And what this bill seeks to do is, last year we'd worked with our Senate finance staff and some of the staff from the VEDP to make some tweaks in the code section as far as the types of projects that we would be reviewing, making it clear that if the type of the project was that it would already qualify for incentives or tax credits that are in existing law, that we would not have to review that part of it. It also spoke, and this was a critical piece of it, to the timing of information, the types of information that would need to be provided to the commission and the timing of that. Currently, they're allowed 2 days, 48 hours to provide information to us before we would convene. This would extend that to 5 days, so our staff would have more time to assemble the information and educate the members of the MEI Commission. So that's essentially what my bill does. It also included a provision which dovetails with a separate bill that Senator Howe has. I initially was going to propose that we increase the membership on the Senate side from 3 to 4. The House has 5. Senator Howe has a bill to increase that to 5. So I suppose we could have a separate bill just to do that, or whatever Senator Howe would want to do on that.
Senator Howe will speak to hers.
Okay, thank you. I think the best way to address this is to change Senator Hanger's number of senators to 5 and then roll my bill into his and make us co-chief patrons. I think the other things he's trying to do need to be done for MEI in any event.
I would move we roll those bills together then and make that change.
Second. It's been moved and seconded that Senate Bill 970 be rolled into Senate Bill 599. And make
It five members.
5 members of the Senate. Okay. So all those in favor of that, please vote. Okay, Senator Hanger.
Ayes 14, no 0.
Ayes 14, no 0. On the rolling the
Madam
bills
Chair.
together, we got to
Right.
vote on the bill.
Oh, excuse me. All right, you just rolled it together.
Okay, we
All
now
right.
have Senate Bill 599. It's been moved and seconded that's, no, Senate Bill 587. That Senate Bill 587 be reported. All those in favor, please vote.
Ayes 14, no 0.
Ayes 14, no 0. Thank you,
Thank
Senator
you, Madam
Hanger.
Chair and members of the committee.
Senator Suderline.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I've got SJ 79.
That will be on page 7 of your docket.
And what Senate Joint Resolution 79 seeks to do is honor a great Virginian who's from Franklin County here on Capitol Square, Booker T. Washington. Madam Chair, you're very familiar with Booker T. Washington, and he was educated at the university you're affiliated with and under a predecessor name. And I know everyone on this committee's heard me speak about Booker T in the past, and most of you have also read Up From Slavery, It's a great book, and he did a lot of significant things as a civil rights leader, as a business leader, and an education leader. He doesn't always get his recognition here as a Virginian, but he's from Virginia. He was educated in Virginia. He organized significantly with Virginians and has very close ties to the Commonwealth. And I think that he should be honored here in Capitol Square. It's been suggested that on the statue front, on physical space, that maybe a statue is not the best way. What I seek to do with this resolution is I want a physical representation of Booker T. Washington on Capitol Square. The old House chamber would be an appropriate place, I think, as well. I have the list of all the statues in there, and if you look at the list, you'll notice that it's Booker T. Washington would have a very significant difference than that list of most of the folks that are on there. And a lot of it's overwhelmingly Confederate, and I don't think that chamber was used by the Confederate Congress, and it makes sense that there is some. But given that Booker T. Was emancipated, was born into slavery, emancipated here in Virginia, became educated in Virginia and became a national leader, and was, as you heard me speak before, the first black person ever to get to dine in the White House after being a child who barely ever had a proper meal. I think that might even be the most appropriate place on Capitol Square is in the old House chamber. And if you all agree with me that there should be a physical representation of Booker T. Washington here, I'm open to your suggestions, but that's been suggested to me by folks more familiar with the intricacies or delicacies of the physical space on Capitol Square, and I think that's entirely appropriate, and it would set I think it would set that room in a good direction.
Any questions to Senator Suderline? I'm very familiar with Booker T. Washington. He's a graduate of Hampton.
Madam Chair, I move to be reported is a history with Booker T. Washington. He was born in Franklin County, partially raised in Lynchburg. Spent most of his formative years of being educated outside of Charleston, West Virginia. So there are a number, plus, he was head of the school down with Alabama, I believe. And so there are a lot of states that claim him, but Virginia should certainly claim him. And I agree with what you're trying to do. I move the report.
Second.
We need to take Capitol Square out of your resolution and just.
On line 37.
Why do we want to do
Say
that?
second. Because it's not going to be Capitol Square, Capitol. Okay, it's been moved and seconded to remove Capitol Square from the resolution.
Madam Chair, as you see, I know we're supposed to do legislation, not ideas, but this very much is an idea. And in there, you'll see the commission is set out and that you would be a member of it. The governor would have 3 appointments, which I'd like to be involved in. But so I trust with you being in it, you'd be certain that we'd make it here at the Capitol. And so that's why I don't have a problem with it out being more specific.
Okay, we have the amendment with regard to Capitol Square. All those in favor of that amendment, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Those opposed?
Question?
Senator Pavola.
So this makes a determination already that we want a statute. So, and philosophically, I'm fine with that and think it's a good idea. But would the commission raise money and do other things? Like they had a commission for the Women's Monument and part of the task was raising money. I'm just asking.
We will
What
be
would
able
you
to
envision?
secure the money through the commission, the legal entities that do that. I'm sure our clerk could give you the best descriptions of it, but that will not be a problem, and it will not.
So just, Madam Chair, follow-up?
Senator Favola.
Just for clarity then, you were expecting the commission to maybe come up with a plan, a design, a specific location, and then that would be recommended to the General Assembly. Is that essentially what?
Senator Favola, I'm going to ask the clerk to answer those questions.
This is the Queen of Monuments. I've done 3 already. Public safety,
Sure.
Indian Tribute, Women's Monument. This is why the Capitol Square Foundation has been formed by joint rules many years ago to raise money in situations such as this. But you should also add both clerks and the curator of Capitol Square Preservation.
To your resolution. Yes.
Thank you.
It's been moved and seconded that we add those to the resolution. All in favor, please say aye.
That sounds great.
Sounds like you're moving along.
That sounds very good.
Okay.
This has been a very good morning.
Okay. So we have the resolution before us.
Move be reported.
Moved and seconded that Senate Joint Resolution 79 be reported. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Thank you very much.
Senator Hashmi?
Good morning. Thank you, Madam Chair. This is SB 407. And
That's on page 1.
there is a substitute.
We have a substitute. Moved and seconded that the substitute be adopted. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed? We have a substitute before us.
Madam Chair, this bill is very, very important to me personally. It will help me to resolve a family argument that I've been having for 20 years with my older brother. He lives in Massachusetts, and he declares that Massachusetts is the key architect of the American Revolution. And we, as proud Virginians, know that Virginia played the central role in the American Revolution. So let's go ahead and make that a strong proclamation in our planning for
Madam
our
Chairman.
Good way to win an argument.
Madam Chairman,
Senator Howe.
Massachusetts also tries to steal the first Thanksgiving, which
Yes,
we
they
know
do.
is here.
They absolutely do. They need to be put in their place. This is not just an academic argument between me and my brother. It is a historical argument. So what this bill seeks to do is to establish the Virginia Revolutionary 250th Commission Advisory Commission so that we can plan and develop and perform programs and activities that are going to commemorate the 250th anniversary of the American Revolution. The Revolutionary War and the independence of the United States. This bill will expire then on July 1st of 2027. The 250th anniversary of the American Revolution, this commission will be established in the legislative branch. And the purpose is, as I said, to prepare and for the commemoration of the anniversary. As we all know, Virginians played a very critical role in the Revolutionary War, and especially in the foundation of the United States and the foundational documents that define our democracy. And so this commission will lead us in an appropriate and apt celebration, and it will have 15 members. We have worked hard to reach an agreement about the composition of the advisory commission, its role and purpose, and I believe we have a few folks here, if you're willing to take testimony, just a few folks who wish to address this important matter.
Okay, if you will come forward briefly.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, my name is Jamie Boskett. I'm the president and CEO of the Virginia Museum of History and Culture, formerly the Virginia Historical Society, and I'm on behalf of all of our planning partners who have been hard at work thinking about this commemoration on behalf of the museum and cultural community for the better part of 3 years, Mount Vernon, Monticello, Colonial Williamsburg, Jamestown, Yorktown Foundation, the National Park Service, we have joined together as institutions to make sure we're doing this well and right in Virginia. So we wholeheartedly support this and look forward to planning a commemoration that you'll all be very proud of.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, my name is Adam Gillenwater with the American Battlefield Trust. We are the administrative secretariat for the federal U.S. Semi-Quincentennial Commission, and we support this legislation.
Thank you so much. Ben, you aren't tired?
I'm what?
You aren't tired?
No, I am tired. Ben Dendy, I'm Chairman Emeritus at the Jamestown Yorktown Foundation. Our new Executive Director, Christy Coleman, has worked with us in developing this legislation, and we do favor the substitute as it comes to you. I think this committee knows the importance of these commemorations and what they have done to boost tourism and economic development in the state.
Thank you.
Madam Chair.
Senator Edwards.
Why would it end in 2027? Why not 2031 when the actual, something happened at Yorktown that ended the war? Actually, 2033, because the war didn't really end until 1783 at the Treaty of Paris. Yeah.
Happy to speak to that. Christy Coleman and I have talked at length about this, and the reality is that from past experience of commemorations, when they span too far of a distance and too great of a time frame, it loses its momentum. So we want, with this first commission, to focus specifically on the year in which the National Commission will commemorate, and then we can think about future occasions for Yorktown's anniversary.
Okay. All right.
Senator
Thanks.
Norman.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I have an amendment that I'd like to propose to add another member to that group, and Amigo has that.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. The amendment would be on line 30, after historic homes, insert, comma, Washington Rochambeau Revolutionary Route Association, Incorporated.
Speaking to that amendment, Madam Chairman, I've been requested to add the Washington Rochambeau Revolutionary Route National Historical Trail Association to it. This trail is actually about 680 miles long, and it goes through 9 states. There are over 500 locations along that trail on it, and they actually were a participant in the planning of the 2019 commemoration. So I am just respectfully asking that they be added as one of the participants in the group.
Okay. You've heard.
We're happy with that friendly amendment. Thank you, Senator Norman.
I'm happy that you're happy.
Let's just be
Okay,
happy it's Friday.
We've heard the amendment. All in favor of that amendment, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, we now have Senate Bill 407.
Madam Chair, there's a technical amendment.
There's a technical amendment.
Yes, Madam Chair. It would be at line 31 after national. It would strike sesquicentennial and insert semiquincentennial.
The who sentence?
Madam Chair, can you repeat that?
It would be it would be to strike sesquicentennial and insert semiquincentennial.
You thought he couldn't do it, didn't you?
Can you say that 3 times real fast?
All in favor of that amendment, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Okay. We need a motion on Senate Bill 407. It's been moved and seconded that Senate Bill 407 be reported. All in favor, please vote. Who has deeds?
Ayes 11, no 0.
Ayes 11, no 0. That bill's reported. Thank you, Senator.
Thank you.
Senator Peake.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. We've got 3 here. I'd like to start with Senate
You
Bill
can only do one. No, I'm just
180.
kidding.
Ma'am?
I'm just kidding.
So I know you're inclined to vote in favor of all my bills, so I'm really confident stepping up here, Madam Chair. Senate Bill 188. This is, ma'am? Oh,
Page 3 of your docket.
I don't have a page. There we go. Senate Bill 188, page 3. I've brought this on behalf of a lot of my local governments, counties especially, because I have 8 of them. And what has happened, we're supposed to do the calculation of what it's going to cost the counties. But what has happened is we get all these bills, they come in late. We do the calculations, and the counties don't actually find out until it's way too late for them to contact us and let us know how it's going to affect them. And this bill would require us to get that information out to them much sooner. The bills have to be filed by December 15th. And if the bill is going to have a substantial impact on our local governments, then it shall be ruled out of order by this committee. And I have someone here to speak on behalf of this bill. Okay, Katie, thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair and members of the committee. Katie Boyle with the Virginia Association of Counties. And I think Senator Peake explained it very well. I think we're seeking just some additional time to review bills, and we think that would make for just a better process, an ability to kind of have a full understanding of implications of bills so that they're known and perhaps could be mitigated or worked out earlier in the session rather than coming to you late in the session with some, unpleasant news about expenses to localities. So just appreciate your consideration. We also appreciate the provision in the bill that would allow for us to get together with the Commission on Local Government and maybe work on having a more robust process. Right now, it kind of relies on volunteers from localities who are taking this on in addition to their regular jobs. And so we're maybe looking for some ways to beef that up a little bit. So very much appreciate your consideration. Thank you.
Other comments? Questions from the committee?
Madam Chair,
Senator Marston.
one of the things I've run into, and Senator Peake, you could verify, most city councils and boards of supervisors meet once a week. And so once we get going, it's not just a question of time, it's a question of when they can meet and legally take a position on something that creates a problem as well. So I kind of like this concept.
And Madam Chair,
Senator,
and frequently they're doing their budgets at the end of the year.
But Madam Chair,
Senator Deeds.
I would say to Senator Marston that I don't know of any board of supervisors that meets every week in my part of the world. I mean, they might meet once a month.
Makes my point.
Senator Marston.
Madam Chair.
Senator Peake.
To Senator Deeds' answer, exactly, most of my counties meet once a month. The cities meet twice a month at best. And then their budgets are due. They're meeting once a month, and all of a sudden we're hitting them with some highly expensive bills.
Madam Chair,
Senator Deeds.
I would ask, I've been here a number of years, and often I've introduced legislation that I didn't think had an impact, and I found out when I got to the committee that it did have an impact. How would one know by December 15th that legislation had a negative fiscal impact? And what would happen if a bill that a constituent or a local government asks you to introduce later in December turned out to have a negative fiscal impact?
Madam Chair,
Senator Peake.
I believe that they just have to file it by December 15th. And so then the report gets done, and then they know. And then the problem is, if it comes after that, then it comes in front of the rules as a possibility of being barred by the rules. Katie, is that? Yes.
Madam Chair.
Senator McPike.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So, point of information, when was the governor's budget introduced? December 17th?
Correct.
So under this, we wouldn't be able to consider the governor's budget. Is that correct?
I don't believe that's point of order. Yes.
Madam Chair.
Senator Edwards.
Yeah, I was on Rock City Council and Vice Mayor for a time, and I'm sympathetic, but this is just not workable. It's just impractical. And as I recall, anytime something turns out to have a negative impact, you got a problem if this is in effect. And I think we're very sensitive to that type of thing. So it's just not a workable bill.
Madam Chair.
Senator Peterson.
I was on the Fairfax City Council, and I can tell you that if you're going to move the pre-filing deadline to December 15th, city councils aren't going to look at anything between December 16th and January 1. All right? I mean, people are spending time with their families, and what you're effectively doing is moving the pre-filing deadline up. But some of the most significant bills we've had, both good or bad, have been filed during the session. We're not professional politicians. We're here for 60 days. And to me, it is inconvenience on local governments. I get that. But it's kind of like Winston Churchill said, democracy is the worst form of government except for all the others. And I think the way we do it is the worst way to do it except for all the other ways. And this will be a worse way, in my opinion. So I would move to PBI.
It's been moved and seconded that Senate Bill 188 be passed by indefinitely. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor, please vote.
Ayes 13, noes 1.
Ayes 13, noes 1. I'm sorry, Senator Peake.
Madam Chair, if we could then go to Senate Bill 986, and what page is that on, Madam
That's
Clerk?
page 5 for us.
Page 5. This one may meet a similar fate, but I think it also has a well-meaning intention. And I suspect that each and every one of y'all who has had a bill that it turns out that one administration or another does not like, that bill will be returned with a financial impact statement that seems completely out of whack to what it is that you want to accomplish with the bill. What this Senate Bill 986 would do would be to ask either Senate staff or House staff to review that financial impact statement that comes from an administration and see if that is actually an accurate financial impact statement.
Madam Chairman.
Senator Howell.
We're struggling here with our staffs being totally overwhelmed already, both legislative services and Senate Finance and Appropriations. I just don't see how, until we resolve that issue, we can put more of a burden on them.
Senator Favola.
In some cases, lawmakers get information from our fiscal staff, the staff that staffs our Appropriation and Finance Committee, that contradicts the information we get from the governor's office on key bills. So this, in certain cases, this sort of happens in an organic way. I'd have to agree with Senator Howell, though. I don't think we'd want to institutionalize it just based on the workload, and there would be one other point of contention continually between our staff, our fiscal staff, and the governor's fiscal staff. So with all due respect, I'm going to move to PBI this.
It's been moved and seconded that Senate Bill 986 be passed by indefinitely. Is there discussion?
Let me ask one question. This obviously would require a lot more people. Senator Peake, at the Bureau, at the Department of Planning and Budget, a lot more. Would you be willing to put in, yes or no, an income tax increase to pay for that?
No.
Well, then the bill's dead.
All those in favor, please vote.
Sometimes.
All those in favor, please vote.
I got one left.
Okay, that would be on
Ayes
page.
13, noes 1.
Ayes 13, noes 1.
And
Okay, that will be on page 6.
And I thank you, Madam Chair, and I can assure the senior senator from Fairfax that this bill will not require any cost or income tax or anything to pass it. This is a resolution to declare that nuclear energy is clean energy. And this coincides with a bill by the senior senator from Accomack Senator Lewis, Senate Bill 817.
What bill is this?
Which talks about carbon tax and nuclear fuel and how it shall be considered a clean energy. And nuclear is vital to the Commonwealth. It's actually vital in my jurisdiction. We have BWXT and Framatome in Lynchburg. We have our naval shipyards in Newport News. And of course, Virginia Tech and VCU with all of their nuclear research capabilities and Dominion with its nuclear facilities. So we're just seeking to declare that nuclear energy is a clean energy as we strive towards the governor's declared goal of being clean energy by 2050.
Madam Chair, what the governor said, and I have no problem with nuclear power, but what the governor said was carbon-free. That's what he said. If this would make a lot more sense and probably get you a lot less aggravation if you said it would be declared a carbon-free source of energy.
Additional questions?
Because other people are going to tell you, well, it's radioactive, yada, yada. You do a whole lot better if you change it to carbon-free, which it is.
I have someone here. I have someone here to discuss that.
He has a lifeline.
Phone a friend. Thank you.
Hi, thank you. Hi, my name is April Wade. I'm the Executive Director for the Virginia Nuclear Energy Consortium. The other legislation that Senator Peake mentioned.
It says carbon-free. It says carbon-free line 17.
It does. It's carbon-free. The other bill that he mentioned about with Senator Lewis is nuclear energy as a carbon-free source of energy.
Okay.
I knew I had it in there.
Yes, sir.
Madam Chair?
Senator Edwards.
Well, basically, it says nuclear energy is to be encouraged. Well, I don't think we necessarily need a resolution to say that. We have nuclear energy, obviously, but I don't know why you want to do this.
We do. What this is talking about is advanced technologies that are being developed right now. Just Virginia has a strong foundation in nuclear energy with Newport News, the universities, Lynchburg area, and the utilities. But this is just letting these new companies know that Virginia is a place to do business with and bring those technologies here.
Madam Chairman.
Senator Sasslaw.
Yeah, I had a physics professor from I think he said he was Caltech. They were talking about, they spent more time talking about renewables, but he said the only way you can get to carbon-free by 2040, and the governor said 2050, and one of the bills you're going to see later will be 2045. But, or we've seen it already, Senator Favola, I think, had it in hers, what a lot of electric utilities are looking at are what's called micronuclear plants, which are a lot cheaper and a lot smaller. They power a lot of houses. The technology is not there to get us to 100% renewables by 2040 or probably even by 2050, which is why you're hearing the term carbon-free, would be the use of micronuclears. And my understanding is that virtually all the electric utilities around the country are now looking at that, because they're a lot cheaper to build.
Utilities are looking at that, but there's companies also popping up. Bill Gates has a company that he's working with to build what's called a small modular reactor, very similar. There's NuScale that's developing a product. GE Hitachi is developing a small modular reactor. Several companies are looking at this. We just want to make sure that Virginia is a part of that and letting the companies know that this is where they need to be. With our ports, Virginia is a prime place for these companies to come to.
Okay, we have SJ 60.
I move to pass the bill by indefinitely.
Substitute motion, I'll move to report it.
It's been moved and seconded that SJ 60 be reported. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed? No. Noes? Okay. No, just a nose. Okay.
Oh, did it pass?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Senator Peake.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, we will now move to committee members.
Madam Chair.
Senator Peterson, I would chill out. I'm going from the bottom up. So I was starting with you. Okay.
He's on the bottom.
He's on the bottom. Senator Peters.
All right, moving on up. Senate Bill 1062, I've talked with Chev, and I think Senator Saslaw has budget language to accomplish this same topic. So that being the case, I'd move that we carry over Senate Bill 1062, and I'll work with Chev on doing what I need to do. So I'd make that motion.
Moved and seconded that Senate Bill 1062 be carried over to 2021. All those in favor, please vote.
Ayes
Okay.
14, no 0.
Ayes 14, no 0. Moving on up, Senate Bill 130, Senator Normant. Oh, yeah, you were in the block. Senator Marston, you were in the block too.
Senator House is next, 150.
Let's see,
It's
who's
three.
left? Howell. But she got rolled in.
One of mine I restruck, and the other was rolled in, but I do have Senate Bill 344.
Let's do that.
Okay. Senate Bill 344 is the bill that effectuates the name change of the. It's the one that changes the name of Senate Finance to Senate Finance and Appropriations.
Madam Chair, I thought we'd already agreed to that in the rules. Does that require a bill
I
too?
don't know, this is the bill that would have it changed.
Okay.
They're not going to change it everywhere in the code. They're just going to have a statement that wherever the other name is, this is the current name. Oh, we need to
Add judiciary to this.
Make that motion.
Moved and seconded that judiciary be added. All those in favor of that amendment, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
No. I hate change.
Okay, so now we have Senate Bill 344.
I reluctantly move it be reported.
Second.
Been moved and seconded that Senate Bill 344 be reported. All those in favor, please vote.
Ayes 11, noes 1. Rule 36-2.
Okay, who's left, Hobie? Senator Edwards.
Hey,
Ma-
I'll tell you what.
Madam Chair, Senate Bill 996, we have Captain Stephen Whitmer here to explain it. This basically allows the state police, the Capitol Police, to have concurrent jurisdiction with law enforcement officers and other jurisdictions when they request the officers to assist them with regard to canines to detect firearms, ammunition, and et cetera. Thank you. Captain Whitmer.
Madam Chairman, members of the committee, I thank Senator Edwards for bringing this bill before the committee. This relates to our canine officers. What the committee may not know is that we occasionally receive requests for assistance from local governments to do things like respond to bomb threats in schools, assist them in trying to locate guns that have been thrown away following a crime and that sort of thing. And when resources are available, we like to be able to assist them, but it puts the officer in an awkward position being out there on the job in uniform and not having police powers where he is. So that's all the bill does. It gives him police powers in the jurisdiction to which he responds.
Mr. Chairman, Madam Chairman,
Senator,
my question is, you can actually sign a memorandum with each jurisdiction that would want to use this to do what you want to do. You don't have to have concurrent jurisdiction. Is that not accurate?
The senator is correct that this could be done with a mutual assistance agreement. However, these calls come in, we don't know which jurisdiction might make the call, and if it comes in for a bomb threat at a school, it's made on an emergency basis, and there isn't time to get that agreement from the county executive or the local governing body in order for the officer to respond.
Madam Chairman, I might be the only one that has a concern about this, but giving concurrent jurisdiction with every jurisdiction in the Commonwealth, so that's 137 and 136 other jurisdictions, I have a concern with doing this. There are other ways, the mutual aid agreements or the as described are ones that most jurisdictions use if it is a faraway jurisdiction. And I'm assuming this is not the only dog that's available to do this, and this is dependent on the Capitol Police Officer. I think that this is a really dangerous precedent that we're going to give
Madam
concurrent
Chair.
jurisdiction all over the state.
Madam Chair.
Let him finish. You finishing?
Madam Chair.
Senator Edwards.
This is limited to situations when such jurisdiction has requested such officers to assist. In other words, it avoids, as Captain Whitmer talked about, having to go through the process of coming up with a memorandum of understanding. So it's only in that narrow situation that they would have concurrent jurisdiction, but it would kick in instantly in those situations. Is that correct?
That's correct, and it is limited to searching for explosives and related purposes.
Senator Favola.
Actually, Senator Edwards pointed out that
Okay. Are there any additional questions?
Madam Chair?
I'm
Senator
going to make a
McPike.
motion.
Sorry, just curious. Do you, for instance, if Senator McDougal has a crime in relation to his duty as a senator, do you have jurisdiction at that point in his home county?
Madam Chairman, members of the committee, we do not have general jurisdiction to respond to an offense committed against a senator in his home county. We do have some limited authority with respect to theft of property from members of the General Assembly and so on. That's there in this section of the code as well.
Follow, Madam Chair.
Senator McDougal. I'm sorry,
Ooh.
Senator McPike.
Good morning, Madam Chair. So this would allow jurisdiction in the request should there be an action against one of the members, for instance, of this body.
Madam Chairman, Senator McPike, this is limited to a request for assistance in searching for explosives, a gun, something like that.
Madam Chairman.
Madam Chair.
Senator McDougal.
Madam Chairman, maybe I don't read it the same way, because this says the Capitol Police Officer, who's the handler of a detector K-9, when requested for such jurisdiction, but it doesn't limit the time frame or limit it to that request. It just says they have concurrent jurisdiction. So I understand, and I'm probably still opposed to it even as they explain it, because they can sign the agreements. But this is granting, once that request has been made, it doesn't seem like it's revoked, and it's not limited to that authority to just detect for explosives, ammunition, propellants, or incendiaries.
Madam Chair.
Senator Favola.
I understand the concern that Senator McDougal might have, but I think in actually applicability, they still would have to be invited in by the jurisdiction. So the jurisdiction can uninvite them, I would expect, after a certain task is done. Is that a clear understanding?
Madam Chairman, Senator Favola, there's no intent to exercise police authority here outside of the incident to which the officer is requested to respond.
I'm going to move that we report the bill.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that Senate Bill 996 be reported. All those in favor, please vote.
Ayes 11, noes 2.
Stanislaw.
I move that we reconsider the vote. by which we reported the bill, having voted on the prevailing side, so that somebody can vote. Okay, I withdraw the motion.
Okay, you have one more.
Yes, Madam Chairman, I had one more. It was Senate Bill 150.
Page 3.
This would have increased workload on some of our staff, and given how overburdened they already are, until we resolve that, I don't think my bill should go forward, so I would ask that it be carried over.
Carry over or straw?
Either, but carried over.
It's been moved and seconded that Senate Bill 150 be carried over to 2021. All those in favor, please vote.
Thank you.
Matt, I voted for the carryover, but I do hope we look at this because this is a really good idea, because oftentimes these, as they come in, they look one way and they're changed, and knowing what that impact is once they've been changed, I think is really important.
Thank you.
Ayes 13, noes 1.
Ayes 13, noes 1. That bill is carried over. On page 7, I have Senate Joint Resolution 89, which is confirming appointments by the Senate Committee on Rules to the Virginia Commonwealth University Health System Authority Board of Directors. And those individuals are the Honorable Lisa M. Hicks Thomas, Dr. Bruce E. Mathern, and the Honorable Ryan T. McDougall.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor of Senate Joint Resolution 89, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay. Okay.
Yeah, Madam Chair, I have Senate Joint Resolution 56. And it's pretty self-explanatory, Madam Chair. It recognizes, it recites within the resolution all of the issues that have been experienced with offshore exploration and drilling for gas and oil. It also highlights the importance of our tourism industry, our aquaculture and seafood industry, the military activities here in Virginia, and the problematic, and that the offshore oil and gas activities would be problematic to those. And it further goes on to point out that 25 communities in Virginia, including Hampton, Norfolk, Suffolk, Portsmouth, Virginia Beach, and many counties, including the counties on Virginia's Eastern Shore, as well as the Hampton Roads Planning District Commission, have passed resolutions opposing offshore oil and drilling and seismic exploration. And further is resolved that the General Assembly recognizes the opposition to exploration and drilling for oil and gas off the Virginia coast. That is it, Madam Chair.
Okay, Senator Lewis, this is just saying that we are opposing it?
Well, the terminology is recognizes the opposition. I think as important as the line 58 where it is resolved, I think it's the recitations that are contained within the resolution that are just as important as the final paragraph, Madam Chair. All those things, all the problematic issues regarding what's valuable to us as a Commonwealth, from heritage to economic development, and the dangers posed by offshore oil and gas drilling, and then the potential impact on our economy, and then just recognizes the fact that there is opposition to exploration and drilling. We also, of course, passed a bill which I carried, Senate Bill 795, which bans any infrastructure in Virginia waters that supports or receives offshore the product of offshore supports or receives the product of offshore oil, natural gas, and oil exploration.
Madam Chair?
Senator Edwards.
As I understand it, this doesn't do anything, but recognizes there are people that oppose it, people that for it. So I don't know what it really does.
Well, I think, again, Madam Chair, I think, again, Senator Edwards, I think
as I said, the recitations before you get to line 58 are just as important as line 58. It recognizes opposition to the exploration and drilling, but again, the recitations are every bit as important as the final word there on the resolved line.
Madam Chairman.
Senator McDougal.
Regardless of what you think about all the whereases, historically, we have not this committee has not sent items to Congress or international, any federal agency. And Madam Chairman, I know that some people might feel very strongly about what's in there, but if we start this process, I can guarantee you there are a number of people that would like to send lots of information to federal agencies, and the number of resolutions you see through this committee will probably quadruple very rapidly to do that. So I just, maybe the only one, but express real caution about sending something to the federal government.
Madam Chair. If
Senator
I
Lewis.
just respond to Senator McDougal's concerns, I understand exactly what he's saying, and clearly we don't memorialize Congress anymore, and I understand that. But I think this is maybe a little bit different in that I think the Department of Interior is in fact interested in what the coastal states think about offshore oil and gas, and I think it would have some relevance and some impact in that particular activity. I wouldn't memorialize it, send a resolution to any other agency for any other issue, but I think, again, with the Department of Interior and offshore, I think it would have some impact and would be of some importance.
Senator Lewis, I think is still in the category of memorializing.
Understand, Madam Chair.
Senator Peterson.
I think I move we pass this bill by, and I support the purpose behind this letter, but I think Senator McDougal's correct that if we're going to start writing letters or passing resolutions to federal agencies, we'll be here through the end of April. So I would move to PBI with a letter, if we need be, to the Department of the Interior with all the same verbiage, and that could come from the governor's office.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we pass by indefinitely SJ 56. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. I think that clears our docket. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Good work, man.